Part 15. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 142. In the vast Void Sea area, there are waves of cultivators who have just returned, and battleships are flying across the sky. But now, hundreds of thousands of allied forces from the Earth and Ming realm suddenly disappeared. Not a single one is left. Whether it is a mysterious immortal or a heavenly immortal, or a perfection-level golden immortal. Even the mastermind behind the scene who suddenly appeared, the 9 dignified Tai golden immortals, disappeared in this moment. The entire Void Sea area looks so vast and empty. Only the army of heaven is left. At this moment, everyone in heaven realm was dumbfounded and shocked. As if they had seen something unimaginable, they all looked at the girl in purple dress in the sky with their mouths open. Her figure is light and graceful like a fairy. She is wearing a purple skirt, which looks elegant and agile in the air. She holds a pen in one hand and a painting in the other. The pen is a phoenix quill pen, which exudes terrifying flame energy. Any time you wave it, some ancient avenue will resonate with it. The painting is a painting of a terrifying avenue, where the rules of virtuality and reality are intertwined, and the spaces of truth and falsehood overlap. On a square of rice paper, the 9 Tai golden immortals, hundreds of golden immortals, and hundreds of thousands of allied troops from the Earth and Ming realm are lifelike. Oh my God, what just happened? I feel like my soul is shaking, as if some kind of secret is involved. It's so scary. That painting, is like a bottomless black hole. Could it be that the hundreds of thousands of troops and the 9 Tai golden immortals just now were all given away by that painting? Everyone spoke one after another, their eyes filled with incredible looks. This scene has surpassed their cognition. It's too scary. That pen, that painting, he is indeed a disciple of Senior Li. Holy Master Kongming spoke tremblingly, unable to help but want to worship. Brother Dugu is right. All of Senior Li's disciples are people who want to rise against the sky. Previously, Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking stunned the world. Now, Miss Xiling has wiped out 1,000,000 enemies in one stroke. Holy Lord Ling Chao was filled with emotion. Is this the supreme way of painting? When the painting is completed, everything that is depicted in the painting will be sucked into the painting, weird and mysterious. Senior Li, it's so scary. Holy Lord Yuan Yang murmured in shock. Mu Qianing and Huo Linger were also shocked at this moment. I didn't expect that Miss Xiling is so powerful. Huo Linger spoke. She knew from the beginning that this battle was not something to be afraid of, because since Senior Li had already sent out his disciples, Xiling must be their biggest trump card, and when this trump card was used, she believed that everything would be reversed. However, I didn't expect the twist to be so complete and direct. This way of destroying the enemy is too terrifying and shocking. I know that as long as Senior Li is here, no one can invade the heaven. Mu Qianing was very excited, her face flushed, and she said, I really envy Sister Xiling, she can learn such a powerful way. And even Xiling herself, holding the scroll in her hand, was still in a daze. Am I so powerful? She felt a little weak in her heart. In this scroll, are there really hundreds of thousands of troops? There are even 9 Tai golden immortals. I just followed the teacher's instructions to paint the battlefield the same way as the sunset. I didn't expect such a miraculous effect. Moreover, when I painted the battlefield, I obviously felt more relaxed than painting the sunset. So, I'm already so strong. She had some surprises. On weekdays, when she studied with Li Fan, she always had the feeling that she was not good enough. It's like a drop of water facing the vast river. Now, she discovered that through continuous learning, it turned out that her drop of water had already accumulated the strength of a river, but it was not obvious compared to the teacher's boundless ocean. She put away the scroll and pen, put them down immediately, and walked to the battleship of Huo Linger and others. Thank you, Miss Xiling. Everyone spoke gratefully. If it weren't for Xiling even if Tianzhong Hall had been established in the heaven, they would still lose. The difference in strength is too big. Xiling said, no need to say thank you, I'm just following orders. Sister Ling Sister Qianning, let's go to the master together. Huo Ling and Mu Qianning nodded immediately and ordered to retreat. Yu Pashan and others immediately led the heavenly army back, while Huo Ling Mu Qianning and others followed Xiling and headed directly towards the small mountain village in the southern region. Now. The bright world. What's going on? Why did you suddenly lose contact with the front line? During the Xianming dynasty, among the coalition forces left behind, many senior masters spoke in embarrassment. Our Jingguang sect has also lost contact with the front line. Judging from the communication crystal, it seems to have disappeared over there. Several old men from the Jingguang sect suddenly stood up in horror. No, why can't we contact all the people from the Chen dynasty? An uncle from the Chen dynasty spoke anxiously. All of a sudden, all the major forces discovered it. Just at that moment, their connection with the front line was directly interrupted. What happened on the front line? Even if the war situation is unfavorable, we shouldn't all lose contact, right? A golden immortal who stayed behind spoke, with a look of surprise in his eyes. Unless at the same moment, hundreds of thousands of coalition troops cannot move at the same time, or even, at the same time. Another golden immortal murmured, but he didn't dare to speak the last two words. This is impossible, send someone to investigate immediately. Immediately. Even the people of the Xianming dynasty could not sit still, because they discovered that the soul lamp of Zhao Chenxing, the emperor of Xianming dynasty, had actually fallen into a strange state. It didn't go out, but the flame turned into a weird blue. At this moment, inside the Xianming palace, in a hidden space. Senluo branch. What happened? The two Tai golden immortals who were left behind also looked at the 9 soul lanterns in front of them with their mouths open. The flames on the 9 soul lamps turned into a strange blue in an instant. No, no. How is this possible? This means that, Hall Master and the others, their lives are being alienated. One of them spoke, thinking of some great horror, and his face was very frightened. Alienation of life. This phenomenon, even in the fairyland, only exists in forbidden legends. According to legend, in the immortal realm, some people once entered the restricted area, but after entering, their lives were alienated and they became slaves of the restricted area and lived in another way. Although they are immortal, they are no longer the same. Another Tai golden immortal also shrank his pupils and said, no, life is alienated, unless they are absorbed by the legendary Forbidden Zone and become slaves of the Forbidden Zone. Hurry, report to Immortal General Senming immediately. This kind of thing is simply beyond their ability to deal with in the separate churches. It is necessary to tell the sect that even the immortal generals may not be able to handle it. The entire earthly Ming realm soon fell into panic, because more and more people discovered that the souls of those who went to participate in this battle had turned into a strange blue color. That new big world is basically a devil's cave. It's over, it's completely over. We will destroy hundreds of thousands of our most elite troops. People are in panic, and countless forces are vomiting blood. This time, I'm afraid the overall strength of the Diming realm will go back thousands of years. At the same time, many ancient powers began to try to call their ancestors into the fairyland. Immortal ancestor, it is suspected that life alienation has occurred in the Diming realm. The entire lower realm is almost over. Please immortal ancestor respond. In the Chen dynasty, a middle-aged man lit a stick of glass incense and communicated with the immortal realm. Ancestor, our sect has suffered a great disaster. There seems to be something forbidden in the lower world. Please take action, ancestor. The remaining elders of Jingguang sect donated their essence and blood to activate some kind of communication item. And at this moment, Ziling and others finally returned to the small mountain village. "Master, we are back." Ziling opened the door and jumped up and down, very lively and obviously very happy. Seeing her return, many disciples looked over. "Sister, are you back so soon? Is the world war over so quickly?" Duguyuking was a little surprised. Ziling, Miss Jianning and others looked good, they seemed to have won. Nanfan also smiled slightly. She was a little worried before, after all, Xiling had not experienced much actual combat. Li Fan also smiled and said, "It'll be nice to come back. How will it end?" Ziling immediately smiled and took out a painting she had drawn. Many disciples also gathered around and were a little surprised when they saw the content on the painting. "What a huge battlefield! Is this what the Void Sea looks like? It looks really fascinating. Ziling World's painting skills are really strong, the battlefield is so lifelike, and every person is so detailed, I feel like they look like real people. These 9 people look even more extraordinary, huh? Why do they seem to be in pain and unwillingness on their expressions?" Qing Chen, Long Xuanhuan, and others all spoke in surprise. And Nanfan was slightly shocked, and immediately sent a message and asked, "Ziling, what happened?" Many fellow disciples looked at Ziling, which made Ziling feel a little nervous and said weakly, I may have drawn hundreds of thousands of coalition troops from the Diming realm, as well as Tai Golden Immortal, into the painting. The people in the painting should really be living people." Nanfan's expression suddenly changed. She had personally seen it. The teacher could make things from the outside disappear directly and enter the painting with just a random drawing. Long Xuanhuan and others were also shocked. Previously, Master could suppress the clone of the Immortal King with just one painting. Now, Ziling could suppress hundreds of thousands of armies with just one painting, and the 9 great Tai Golden Immortals. They were all dumbfounded. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 143. After hearing Ziling's narration, Nanfan and his fellow disciples were all a little dumbfounded. This is too outrageous. Although everyone was surprised that a painting by Master could kill the Immortal King, it was also reasonable. After all, they all understand that Master is unpredictable. However, a painting of Ziling can actually kill hundreds of thousands of troops, and even the 9 Tai Golden Immortals. This seems outrageous. It's simply outrageous. Even Demon Commander Gongya was shocked for a while. What a terrifying painting. Now, she is only in the Golden Immortal realm. If she enters the Tai Golden Immortal realm, maybe I won't be able to stand her painting. She was in a daze. It had only been a short period of time, but she was about to start witnessing whether the young people in this small courtyard would embark on the path of invincibility. Thinking that she had withered for thousands of years, she suddenly felt that it was a bit too cold and miserable. Li Fan also glanced at the painting with interest. "Well, my painting skills have improved to some extent, but you have neglected one thing." Li Fan pointed to the hundreds of thousands of troops in the painting, as well as Tai Jingxian and others, and said, "These characters have different expressions, and some are even vaguely ferocious. This is obviously because you don't really control these characters. You only painted their shapes, not their gods." Hearing this, a bright light suddenly shot into Ziling's heart. She seemed to feel something, and immediately asked nervously, saying, "Master, is it possible to control the soul of a character through painting?" Everyone was a little shocked when they heard her question. Can you control the soul of the person in the painting through the painting? Do you mean that you can turn all these characters into puppets under your control? Li Fan smiled and said, "Certainly. You must know that this is your painting. Of course you can choose to depict reality calmly to record or leave some people and things you want to keep until eternity. However, you can also choose to become the supreme master of this painting. Everything in your painting will be controlled by you. Li Fan preached calmly. However, everyone in the field was shocked, as if the sky was falling and the earth was shattered. You can keep the people and things you want to keep until eternity, or you can become the master and control everything. Is this the supreme way of painting? Horrible, terrible. Master's words involve eternity and the secrets of heaven and earth. Even if you don't know the art of painting, you can still feel the supreme meaning of the Tao from Li Fan's few words. A painting can last forever. A painting can control God. What a great spirit! Under all eternity, you can see the existences of immortality and even beyond immortality. Who has such vision and demeanor? Xuanhuan murmured. Ziling, on the other hand, fell into some kind of thinking. She seemed to see a ray of light and another world. Another step. When I was painting, I really didn't control the characters in my paintings. Therefore, those people were alive in my paintings, but I couldn't control them. If I can go to a higher level, the people in the painting will all become my painting slaves. Hundreds of thousands of troops, even Tai Golden Immortal, etc., will all respect my orders. Ziling murmured, she felt a little dumbfounded. If you want to be the master of the painting, you only need one thought. Li Fan smiled slightly and said, "Come and give it a try, calm down, feel the characters in the painting, erase what you don't want, and give them life again." Hearing this, Ziling took a deep breath, immediately stepped forward and closed her eyes. She held the brush, and at this moment, everything in the painting came to her mind naturally. The first thing I felt was the unwillingness and anger of the 9 Tai Golden Immortals, and even a hint of panic. They were unwilling to enter the painting and struggled violently. "No, this painting is the world I prepared for you, you can't resist, you can only accept it," she murmured, and suddenly she tightened her grip on the brush, and brushed it across the painting with a single stroke. Her pen stroked the rice paper, and at that moment, the 9 old men who seemed to be standing out in the battlefield suddenly changed in some way. At this moment, their expressions and eyes no longer had that kind of unwillingness and struggle, but were full of nature and calmness, as if they were the living beings in the world of this painting. Hiss. Seeing this scene, Nanfan's group of disciples all gasped. They clearly felt that the 9 Tai Golden Immortals in the painting had obviously changed completely. People, still those people. But they seemed to have been given souls again. "Well done, now these characters belong to you." Li Fan praised Ziling's painting skills, and after this guidance, he reached a higher level. Ziling also suddenly murmured, I understand, painting is not just painting, painting is the world, life, reality, life." She clearly felt that now, she could easily release the 9 Tai Golden Immortals in the scroll. And the other party will treat her as the master. It was at this moment that her aura suddenly rose. She was originally in the 5th level of the Golden Immortal Heaven, but now she is breaking through the realm one after another. Golden Immortal 6th Heaven. Golden Immortal 7th Heaven. Until the Golden Immortal 9th Heaven. Then, the last closed door suddenly opened. Her breath entered a higher realm without any stagnation. In the field, a group of disciples were a little dumbfounded when they saw this. Ziling just made a breakthrough. Tai Golden Immortal Realm. For a moment, everyone had complicated expressions, and their eyes were filled with incredible looks. Master's casual advice made senior sister Ziling become the strongest one. Long Xuanhuan couldn't help but sigh. He had attained the 7th level of the Golden Immortal Realm by observing the True Dragon Enlightenment, and he had been considered the strongest among many brothers before. Only now do I realize that Master's ability to listen to music on demand is better than countless hard trainings for enlightenment. It's really terrible. Who will dare to make Xiling world angry in the future? Dugu Yuking was secretly afraid. Nanfeng was very surprised and said, Xiling, congratulations, you have taken a step forward. Nanfeng is in the perfect state of the golden immortal. She has always been the strongest before. It won't take long. As her understanding of Emperor Zun's formation-breaking song continues to increase, it will only be a matter of time before she enters the Tai Golden Immortal. Thank you, Master. Xiling happily thanked Li Fan. Li Fan smiled and said, no need to say thank you, go ahead and paint this painting again. Yes. Xiling happily took the painting and went to the other side to modify it. She is somewhat looking forward to it. Now, the 9 Tai Golden Immortals have become her painting slaves. If she turns all these hundreds of thousands of troops into painting slaves, when the time comes, do we still need to be afraid of war? With a flick of the hand, there are hundreds of thousands of powerful people. And at this moment, in the boundless sea of void, worlds emit faint white light, like sparse stars. Among them, there are also bright ones, which are as big as eggs, covered with white mist, and the light can illuminate many worlds around them. Such worlds are rare in the lower realm. This is a vision that only exists in the big world in the earthly world. The big world in the earth world is far larger than the medium world, and can reach several times or even dozens of times the size of the medium world. Even in the void sea, there will be several worlds that become its vassals and protect it like satellites. And this kind of big world often becomes a vassal of the three heavens. The second world, the third world, the fourth world, are the real overlords among millions of lower worlds. The earthly metal realm is such a big world, guarded by 9 small worlds. At the same time, it is also one of the most peripheral realms of the third heaven realm. The earth and gold realm is extremely vast, with numerous forces, countless primitive mountains, and countless powerful ferocious beasts. In this world, in addition to the local forces, there are also branches of forces in the fairyland. In a primeval forest in the earthly gold realm, a magnificent palace was built. This forest is called Senluo Forest. Because this is the Senluo holy sect, the territory of the earthly gold realm. What the outside world doesn't know is that there is a terrifying immortal general in the Senluo holy sect. At this moment, in the magnificent palace, a white-haired middle-aged general sat indifferently at the top. There was a hint of light gold in his eyes, and he was playing with 2 crystal-clear white jade beads in his hands. This person is the helmsman of the Senluo holy sect in the earthly gold realm, Senming Immortal General. Senming Immortal General is one of the 12 immortal generals under Senluo Immortal Lord. General Qi Xian, just now, news came from the Daimingja branch hall, saying that Lin Wenqi and other 9 Tai Golden Immortals have all disappeared. At the same time, their life soul lamps have turned blue, which is suspected of life alienation. An old man walked in, bowed deeply to Immortal General Senming, and spoke solemnly. Senming Xian suddenly stopped stroking the white jade beads in his hand. He raised his eyes and glanced at the old man lightly. Life alienation. His indifferent voice sounded and said, "This is impossible. Apart from the 3 heavens, there is no restricted area in the lower world." The old man said in a loud voice, "But the news from the Daiming realm is absolutely true." Immortal General Senming thought for a moment, showed a sneer, and said, "It's interesting. Is there really any great opportunity hidden here? Well, I have completed the deployment of this world. Let's go to the Ming world first to see what kind of monsters we encounter." After saying that, his body suddenly disappeared from the chair. The old man was taken aback, but he immediately understood that Senming Immortal General should have appeared in the Void Sea and headed for the earthly world. At the same time, in the vast sea of void, a black shadow cut through the space at speed. After a long time, the black shadow stopped slightly. I saw a man covered in black armor. His eyes were full of demonic energy, his face was gloomy, and he sniffed, as if he was looking for something. And on his neck, there was actually an 8 or 9-year-old little girl riding on his neck. If everyone in the small mountain village of Tianjia were here, they would definitely be shocked, because this little girl is exactly the same as Xuanhuan. However, her eyes were filled with an evil spirit. Stop looking, I've already sensed her presence in that direction. She pointed to a certain direction in the void sea, patted the man's head, and said with a smile, "Come on, I have to eat her. If I eat her, I will be a big step ahead of the others." The man nodded and said, "As you command, Demon Lord." He moved his feet and turned into a terrifying black shadow, disappearing from the scene in an instant. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 144. In the void sea area adjacent to the heaven, a dark shadow quickly approached. Not long after, it appeared outside the boundary wall. "Demon Lord, are you sure she is in this world?" The man carrying the little girl spoke respectfully. "Of course, come on, come on. I can smell her already." The man nodded and said, "Okay. It's just that this world seems to be a low-level world at best. I'm afraid it won't be able to accommodate my subordinates to enter it." He took a step forward and gave it a try, but what he didn't expect was that in the next moment, he and the little girl riding on his neck had passed directly through the boundary wall. Huh? What's going on? The man was confused. No matter what I say, it is also the strength of the Deluo Golden Demon, and he is the demon commander. In the lower realm, unless it is the three heavens or some very special high-level earth realms, it is possible to accommodate him. However, the world in front of us is not among those worlds at all. As expected of the place where the Demon Lord's soul is hidden, there is indeed something special about it. He muttered. "Quick, over there, I feel like I'm one step closer to her." On the neck, the little girl continued to speak, pointing in the direction of the center of the world. The man immediately stepped forward. His cultivation has reached the realm of Deluo Golden Demon. For him, spatial distance has long been just a numerical concept. With one step, he has already passed through several states in the next moment. Not long after, they appeared in Xiantian state. "No, why is the fairy spirit here so strong?" The man was slightly startled. It can almost be compared with some of the most powerful Daisija. However, he scanned the land with his spiritual thoughts and found no two powerful cultivators. It seems that this world was newly formed more recently. What does the other soul of the Demon King want to do in seclusion here? He muttered. In the south. The little girl continued to speak and point in the direction. Not long after, they appeared outside the Kangli Mountains. "This area is a bit weird, so be careful." The little girl on her neck reminded her, with a hint of suspicion in her big sinister eyes. When they got here, they no longer rushed for success, but slowly approached. "Huh? I feel a vague demonic aura, very light." The man spoke. He raised his eyes and saw the small mountain village in front of him. "I understand, it must be the person sent by Gongya to protect Demon Lord's soul." Haha, for such an important matter as Demon Lord's soul, he only sent a little golden demon. He understood the other party's realm from the demonic energy he felt. The two immediately approached the small mountain village. And at this moment, in a small mountain village, somewhere in the corner, a bald man was sitting here cross-legged. His clothes were in tatters. There was a broken bowl in front of him. He looked like a beggar. This person is surprisingly Ming Tianbei, who had previously escorted Demon Lord Xuanhuan to escape to a small mountain village. He was also lucky enough to stay in the village, and because of his ragged clothes, the people in the village regarded him as a beggar. The kind-hearted Ant Wang also gave him a broken bowl. This made Ming Tianbei's demon guard burst into tears of gratitude, because with this broken bowl, the villagers would give him some food from time to time. And those foods are almost all elixirs. Therefore, he lived a shameless and impetuous life as a beggar in a small mountain village. He had only lived this beggar's life for a few months, and he had already broken through from the mysterious demon realm to the golden demon realm. This made him sigh. The best days of his life have finally arrived. But at this moment, Ming Tianbei, who was practicing, suddenly changed his expression. He sensed two terrifying demonic breaths. Not good. His expression suddenly changed. He stood up and looked outside the mountain village. At the entrance of the village, a middle-aged man with a magic pattern on his forehead was walking into the mountain village. There was a little girl riding on his neck. Demon Commander Jingmi, and another soul of the Demon Lord came to the door. Ming Tianbei took a breath of air, turned around and ran towards Li Fan's courtyard. This matter is too big, and you must tell Demon Commander Gongya and Demon Lord immediately. You must know that after the 9 Saint Demon Lord failed to attack the Immortal King, the 9 souls were scattered in different places, guarded by the 9 demon commanders under him, and the 9 souls were destined to devour each other. His figure quickly disappeared from the place. And the village entrance. He ran away. On Jingmi's neck, the little girl pointed in the direction of Ming Tianbei's escape and said, "He must have gone to inform us, we have to catch up as soon as possible." However, Demon Commander Jingmi was sweating profusely at the moment. As soon as he entered this small mountain village, he felt a terrifying oppression. "Demon Lord, this place seems to be a forbidden area." He spoke in a loud voice, pointed forward and said, "There are murderous intentions everywhere. Look, on that wooden bridge, if you accidentally fall down, even the great Luo Golden Demon will be refined. That green grassland is full of sword energy. Once you enter it, I'm afraid my subordinates may not be able to escape unscathed. Also, these seemingly simple stone houses clearly contain terrifying principles." He spoke every word with a bit of fear in his voice. Even though he was a demon commander, how could he not be afraid when he broke into the legendary Forbidden Land? It was precisely because of the murderous intent everywhere that he was afraid, so he watched Ming Tianbei escape. Otherwise, how could he be allowed to leave? This will alert the enemy and let Demon Commander Gongya and the other soul of the 9 Saint Demon Lord know of their arrival. I feel it too, I feel very uncomfortable here. The little girl on his neck also spoke, frowned, and said, "If it is really a forbidden area, then it will be troublesome." Seeing how fast the demon guard ran just now, he is obviously familiar with this place. Could it be that the owner of the forbidden area has accepted another soul? We have to hurry. Demon Marshal Jingmi also nodded, and he immediately stepped out step by step, speeding up. However, his nerves were already tense at this moment. Not long after, outside Li Fan's small courtyard. "Miss Gongya, something big has happened, something big has happened." Ming Tianbei's anxious voice sounded. He didn't dare to get close and could only shout. Previously, Gongya learned that Li Fan lived in seclusion like a mortal and did not like to interfere in the affairs of practitioners, so she specifically told Ming Tianbei that if there was an emergency, just call her Miss Gongya, and she was not allowed to mention Magic Commander 2 words, so as not to make Senior Li unhappy. And in the small courtyard, Gongya was making tea for Li Fan. She watched intently as the boiling hot water forced out wisps of tea steam. Last time, after Li Fan's guidance, she vaguely realized the key to moving from the Deluo Golden Demon realm to immortality, so now she is realizing that great way. Outside the door, Ming Tianbei's voice suddenly came, causing Gongya to raise her eyes, with a flash of uncertainty in her eyes. What could make Ming Tianbei so anxious? She looked at Xianning. Xianning said, "Go out and have a look." Gongya immediately bowed respectfully to Li Fan and said, "Master, can you please go out?" Li Fan said, "Go." Gongya quickly walked out of the small courtyard. "What happened? Why are you so panicked?" Demon Commander Gongya asked Ming Tianbei. Ming Tianbei plopped down on his knees and said with a frightened expression, "Demon Commander Qi and Demon Commander Jingmi have arrived at the entrance of the village with another demon lord's soul." Hearing this, Gongya was immediately shocked. Jing is destroyed. As one of the 9 great demon commanders under the command of the 9 Saint Demon Lord in the past, she knew this man's strength very well. He is one of the strongest among the 9 demon commanders. Moreover, there is another demon lord soul. Judging from the time, the demon lord Xuanhuan assisted by demon commander Jingmi was born earlier than Xianning, and must be far more powerful than Xianning. "I see." She spoke gloomily, "You find a place to hide. You don't have to participate in this matter. A small golden demon is not enough to participate in this level of struggle." Ming Tianbei nodded immediately, turned around and ran away. Gongya turned around and returned to the small courtyard. "Demon Lord, what's wrong? Jingmi is here with another soul." She sent a message to Xining. A flash of nervousness suddenly flashed through Xianning's big, clear eyes. Obviously, she is also worried about this. "What's wrong? But are the enemies coming?" At this time, Li Fan asked. Xianning was hunted by his enemies before, and Ming Tianbei seemed to be Xianning's bodyguard. Now that he came to look for him in a hurry, it was probably his enemies who came to visit. Li Fan speculated in his heart. Xining hesitated for a moment, then turned to look at Li Fan and said, "Big brother, I have a sister, she came to see me." Hearing this, Li Fan was surprised. Xianning also has a sister? However, he immediately smiled and said, "It's a good thing that sisters are reunited." Xianning said, "But, this sister, she wants to kill me. Only in this way can she inherit what belongs to me." Li Fan was startled when he heard this. "This, and this kind of plot. Did you actually let yourself run into it? It seems that Xianning does come from a wealthy family, and may even be a princess as written in the novel. This kind of wealthy family is most likely to have heirs kill each other. This is too vicious." Li Fan also felt that he couldn't stand it. During this period of time together, he had long regarded Xianning as a member of the small courtyard. Moreover, after reading poetry with Li Fan for so long, Xianning became more and more well-behaved, and her big eyes became more and more pure. In this way, you don't have to be afraid. Let them come in and I will talk to them. Li Fan is determined to be reasonable. Anyway, this small courtyard and small mountain village are my own territory, and there are many people. It's best if you can be reasonable and make the other party give up. If you can't reason and have to fight, don't be cowardly." After hearing this, Commander Gongya was instantly overjoyed. Sky. Such a terrifying existence actually wants to personally help? What else is there to be afraid of? The victory is certain, the overall situation has been decided. She was ecstatic. And Xianning was also startled for a moment, and her heart suddenly felt angry and full of gratitude. After all this time, this senior has never taken a step out of the small courtyard, and has never taken action against the outside world. But now, in order to help himself, is he about to take action? "Don't be stunned, go quickly," Li Fan said to Gongya. "My slave obeys my command, my slave obeys my command." Gongya was so excited that her chest was heaving, and she immediately turned around and walked out of the small courtyard again. When she opened the door of the small courtyard, she happened to see a middle-aged man approaching with a little girl riding on his neck. The middle-aged man was sweating profusely, as if he had experienced a terrible battle. And the little girl was riding on her neck, her whole body was filled with an evil aura. He, I caught you. The little girl looked at Gong Ya and suddenly giggled. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 145. Demon Commander Jingmi and a soul of the Nine Saint Demon Lord finally appeared outside Li Fan's courtyard. Jingmi took a deep breath. He had just walked all the way from the entrance of the village, and he was really frightened. The murderous intent was so terrifying, and there were desperate situations everywhere. Many times, he felt like he was doomed. However, fortunately, there were many horrific murderous intentions and no attacks were made on him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get here. Gong Ya, after nearly 10,000 years of separation, you and I finally meet again. Jingmi looked at Gong Ya and said coldly. Where is the demon lord's soul? Hand it over. You are no match for me, and the soul you protect is less than a year old. Hearing this, Gong Ya said calmly. It's not certain who will win. Jingmi sneered and said. Haha, I hope that if the soul of the demon king I protect devours your master, you can still have the same confidence. Gong Ya, however, was neither salty nor salty. She stretched out her hand and said, the demon lord is waiting for you in the small courtyard. Please come in. Please come in. A flash of vigilance flashed in Jingmi's eyes. This small courtyard doesn't look that simple. In a daze, this small courtyard seemed to make me feel terrified. If you enter it rashly, something unexpected might happen. What? You came across billions of miles of void sea, and when you get here, you don't dare to go in. Gong Ya sneered. Who said you dare not? Jingmi coldly shouted and immediately stepped forward. However, when he got closer, that kind of terrifying energy came over him one after another. At this moment, he suddenly almost didn't dare to breathe. Because this kind of chi was so frightening to his soul that he couldn't help but tremble all over. Please come in. Gong Ya spoke again, with a sneer in her beautiful eyes. She understands very well how Commander Jingmi is feeling now. When I came here for the first time and saw this small courtyard, I was equally horrified. If you approach rashly, even the demon commander will be shattered to pieces. At this moment, even though Senior Li has promised to wait for them to come in, so he will not kill them, but that kind of anti-chi machine still exists. The little girl riding on his neck suddenly spoke at this moment. Do you want to show me the empty city plan? There was such evil in her big eyes, and she said sternly. You are just one of my slaves. I know the crazy ideas in your head better than you. There are no forbidden creatures here. I guessed right? The only forbidden thing may be the plaque on the door. All taboo auras come from it. You just found this place and tried to use this plaque to scare people. She glanced at the 4 characters Wu Er Xian Ting on the door, but quickly looked away, not daring to look any further. Hearing this, Jingmi also had a look of surprise in his eyes for a moment. The demon lord is absolutely right. If there really is a living taboo existence here, and Gong Ya and the soul she protects are recognized by that taboo existence, why would they bother to let us in? I can't stop a person like this with just a snap of my fingers. He felt that he had completely seen through the reality of this place. Immediately, he faced this terrifying pressure, stepped forward step by step, and sneered. Go in, today, you will see the return of the real Demon King. Gong Ya immediately turned around and led the way. Jingmi finally stepped across the threshold of the small courtyard. That's this moment. What hits my face is a supreme terrifying aura. Jingmi suddenly froze. This terrifying energy caused his liver and gallbladder to burst, and his whole body was instantly soaked with sweat. His whole body stood on the spot, as if he had been struck by lightning for a moment. What kind of chi machine is there in this world? He clearly felt that the terror in this small courtyard was far greater than what he felt outside the small courtyard. He originally thought that, as the demon lord said, this place was strong on the outside and strong on the inside, and only the plaque on the door was the source of the terrifying energy. But, the even more terrifying aura turned out to be still in the courtyard. It was as if he had broken into the residence of countless terrifying beings. Any breath of energy could make his legs weak. He subconsciously raised his eyes and looked forward. I saw that the courtyard in front was neat and tidy, with peach trees, stone tables, and houses. And, a lot of people. Some play the piano. Some paint. Some sweep the floor. Others are feeding the fish. There was also a young man sitting at the stone table. Next to him, a little girl who looked exactly like the demon lord was holding his arm. Boom. This time, Demon Marshal Jingmi felt completely shocked. Are there actually so many creatures hiding in this forbidden area? Even if one living creature appears in the forbidden area, it will cause huge waves. On his neck, the little girl watched the scene in front of her. Suddenly her whole body trembled and she fell off Jingmi's neck. Demon Lord. Jingmi hurriedly helped her up, but felt that the Demon King was also shaking. Both of them looked at everything in front of them with fear. Gangyasi walked over, bowed in front of the young man sitting at the stone table, and said, "Master, this servant has brought them here." "Master, this title." "Slave, that's what I call myself." Hearing this, Jingmi understood in his heart that this young man who looked elegant, easygoing, and indifferent, was actually the master of this place. Forbidden, the lord of the forbidden land? I met the living lord of the forbidden land? He felt dizzy. The demon lord Xuanhuan next to him had a pale face at the moment, but his sinister eyes were staring at Xuanning next to Li Fan. Li Fan also waved his hand calmly at this moment and said, "Pour tea." Gongya then obediently poured tea for him. Li Fan took a sip and looked at Jingmi and the little girl in front of him. She and Zinning look so similar, they are indeed twin sisters. Li Fan sighed. However, Xianning's sister always looks a little uncomfortable. That look was clearly full of greed and hostility. Hey, how could a little girl do this? He couldn't help but caressed Xianning's head gently. Fortunately, Xianning met him, and he taught her poetry every day to keep her pure in her heart. Otherwise, I really don't know what Xianning will become, maybe it will become distorted or become bad. I already know the purpose of your coming here. Li Fan immediately looked at Jingmi and the little girl and said. However, some things cannot be forced. You can't take away the things that belong to peace of mind. What belongs to her will always be hers, and I will not sit idly by and watch. Li Fan's face was a little cold. He understood that he had to show absolute toughness now and said. If you want to take action, you will also destroy yourself. His words trailed off. The surrounding disciples all looked shocked. To them, the master's words were clearly a terrifying decree, carrying an unparalleled pressure. It was at this moment that Demon Commander Jingmi could no longer hold back the fear in his heart. He knelt on the ground with a plop. He was kneeling on the ground, prostrate to the ground, and he was trembling. What you say will follow, what you say will follow. He murmured in horror. What the terrifying being said just now was clearly an invisible terrifying decree. If anyone dared to disobey it, he would be annihilated in an instant. At this moment, he thought about the immortal king. Rumor has it that when the immortal king speaks a word, all the heavens will follow him. If he disobeys, he will be killed by the great Deo. Could it be that the young man in front of me is a terrifying figure of that level? And next to him, another soul of the nine saint demon lord, even though she felt the supreme power contained in the invisible decree at this moment, her sinister eyes were full of unwillingness and resentment. No, I don't, Why, I am. She shouted unwillingly, but before she could finish her words, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Puff. She fell to the ground instantly, her whole body twitching. Jingmi felt the scene and was stunned. The Demon King was deposed. He muttered. Just because he contradicted him, and because he was disrespectful to that being, the soul of the Demon Lord, at this moment. The cultivation level has been abolished, and even the condensed independent life brand has disappeared. He understood that it was over. Although the 9 souls of the 9 Saint Demon Lord essentially belong to the 9 Saint Demon Lord, after rebirth, they will have independent life imprints, that is, independent consciousness. But now, this imprint of life, this sense of autonomy, has been obliterated. The Demon Lord's soul has become a pure soul, no longer conscious, and can only be swallowed by other conscious souls. Completely finished. He was heartbroken, and at the same time, he was extremely afraid of the young man. Just one sentence. It can determine the life, death, and future of a demon king. A group of Li Fan's disciples were also shocked at this moment. They can all feel how powerful Jingmi is. Even more so than Gong Yat. Moreover, the girl was clearly extremely enchanting. But now, because of the master's words, it is ruined. Follow your words. It's that simple. Gong Ya was stunned, she was completely stunned. At this moment, she simply couldn't believe it. It is possible for the Demon King's soul to fuse and fight until the 9 heavens tremble, but now, it can be solved with just one sentence. Is this the supreme existence? When Li Fan saw this, he was surprised. Speaking for yourself, does that work? He actually made the other party kneel down. It seemed that the other party was also frightened. He couldn't help but feel a little happy. The other party must have given in because he saw that there were many people in his courtyard. As for Xinning's sister, she was obviously too competitive. When she saw that the poisonous plan was destroyed, she became so angry that she even twitched. Li Fan couldn't help feeling a little proud, looked at Jingmi and said, "Are you convinced now?" Hearing this, Jingmi did not hesitate to pay homage to him. Jingmi has surrendered. From today on, he will never have second thoughts again. Otherwise, both his soul and spirit will be destroyed. In order to save his life, he directly swore a poisonous oath. In fact, the soul of the demon lord he served was killed, and he had no choice but to serve Xuanhuan. When Li Fan heard this, he nodded with satisfaction, looked at Xuanhuan and Gong Ya, and said, "This matter is over, you can send them away." Hearing this, Xuanhuan jumped up happily and said, "Okay, thank you, big brother." She was so grateful. And Gong Ya also understood, "Senior Li, this is to let the demon lord take that soul away from here and then devour it. After all, this senior likes to live in seclusion like a mortal, and he definitely doesn't want to see the scene of devouring the soul." Gong Ya and Xuanhuan immediately stepped forward and walked out of the small courtyard with the unconscious soul and Jingmi. After walking out of the small courtyard, they left the small mountain village directly. "He, Jingmi, thank you for sending my soul." Xuanhuan smiled and suddenly caught the ownerless soul. In an instant, the soul gradually disappeared and melted into Xuanhuan's body. It was at this moment that the state of peace of mind suddenly improved. The souls are fused and the cultivation levels are repeated. She directly arrived at the Deluo Golden Demon Realm. Seeing this, Jingmi and Gong Ya were both shocked. "Congratulations to the Demon King." Gong Ya spoke respectfully. A look of confusion flashed across Jingmi's face, and he immediately knelt down and said, "Congratulations to the Demon Lord." Xuanhuan stretched her limbs and suddenly said, "The other souls should all be in the lower realm, right?" Gong Ya said, "Yes, Demon Lord. Whether it is the demon realm or the immortal realm, there are too many enemies. Therefore, the 9 demon commanders in the past took your souls and hid them in the millions of lower realms. Very nice. Xuanhuan smiled innocently and said, after returning to the Deluo Golden Demon Realm, I can already feel the connection with them. As she said that, she suddenly made a slight stroke, and blood essence spilled from her wrist. Take this blood and go to the Void Sea. They will follow the path, this blood will tell them, there are 2 unconscious souls here. Xuanhuan smiled. She disguised the blood as flowing from a separate soul that had lost its consciousness. This was bait. Jingmi immediately took a deep breath, caught the blood essence, and said, my subordinate, go now and we will attract other souls to come as soon as possible. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 146. After arranging everything, Gongya followed Xuanhuan and returned to the small mountain village. On the way, Ming Tianbei ran out with his broken bowl, crying with joy, and said, congratulations to the Demon Lord, congratulations to the Demon Lord. He has seen everything. The Demon Lord swallowed up a split soul effortlessly. He was also filled with shock. He originally thought that there would be a terrifying battle between Demon Commander Gongya and Demon Commander Jingmi, but he didn't expect that everything would be resolved just by entering the small courtyard. The existence in that small courtyard is really terrifying. No wonder the Demon Lord Zijia follows him around. Xuanhuan glanced at Ming Tianbei and suddenly said, keep some of the things you begged for, you will need to strengthen my demon army in the future. As a generation of Demon King, she also has countless followers under her command. Even though Ming Tianbei was begging here, the things he got from begging were useful to those under her command, and even to the demon commander. Ming Tianbei heard this and immediately said solemnly, don't worry, Demon Lord, I will definitely increase my begging efforts and work tirelessly to strengthen your demon army. He was so excited that he clenched the broken bowl in his hand. Xuanhuan suddenly felt that this was a little weird. They went back immediately. And at this moment, Jingmi has appeared in the Void Sea outside the heaven. His speed was so fast that he spread Xinning's demonic blood in the Sea of Void tens of thousands of miles around. At the same time, he used cultivation as a blessing. Streams of demonic breath will travel through space. Ordinary people cannot sense it, but the other 7 souls that come from the same source as Xuanhuan will definitely be able to sense it. It won't take long before the 7 souls will gather together quickly like sharks that have smelled blood. Soon. In the void of the heavens and the sea. Somewhere in an extremely distant world, in a magical palace in a mountain range. I sensed, there are 2 souls that have lost their independent consciousness. A little girl who was practicing suddenly opened her eyes. Hearing this, an old man next to him said incredulously, what? Demon Lord, didn't you sense something wrong? 2. A split soul that has lost its consciousness. The little girl stood up directly and said, there can be no mistake, we have to send the action immediately. The other souls must also be aware of it. If they get it first, it will be over. The old man immediately knelt down and said, Demon Lord, please come up. The little girl lay on the old man's back. The old man, carrying the little girl on his back, suddenly disappeared from the place. At the same time, a desolate world. There is almost no Holy Spirit in this world. Terrifying demonic energy is everywhere. The trees have grown pitch black and are very strange. In the sea of black and yellow fog in this world, there is a magic palace on top of the world tree. In the demon palace, countless black demonic energies spurted out along the world tree, and were then absorbed by a little girl in the demon palace. At this moment, the little girl opened her eyes. Her eyes were so dark that you could barely see the whites of them. She was like a little devil. Shueji. She called out, and suddenly, in the void, a warrior holding a long sword and wearing magic armor appeared. The war general said in a deep voice, "Demon Lord, what's the matter?" The little girl said word by word, "I sensed that in a certain void sea, there were two souls that had lost their consciousness. They are calling me." Hearing this, General Xueji raised his eyebrows. He took a step forward, picked up the little girl, and then swiped the Changji in his hand towards the void. A gate to the void appeared, and Xueji led the little girl directly into it. All the souls of the 9 saint demon lords in various parts of the void sea felt this call at this moment. Once the soul loses its independent consciousness, it will have the desire to merge with other souls. This desire will make them summon those souls with independent consciousness. This kind of summoning comes from the soul of the Demon King and can travel through billions of space distances. Therefore, at this moment, the 7 souls scattered in millions of lower realms were all concentrated in a certain direction quickly. The bright world. After the World War, the dimming world is always in panic. They sent some people to explore the new big world, but they found that hundreds of thousands of coalition troops seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. There were no living people, no dead bodies, and they didn't even find the wreckage of a battleship. In that new big world, there must be a restricted area hidden somewhere. The coalition forces were turned into slaves of the restricted area. It's impossible. Among the millions of lower realms, only the 3 heavens have some restricted areas. Yes, although it's weird, it still doesn't mean it exists. However, no matter what conjectures are made, no one dares to approach that new world for the time being. Too dangerous. Xianming Dynasty. In the palace. In a hidden place, a white-haired middle-aged general suddenly walked over step by step. In his hand, he was caressing 2 crystal-clear beads, and his whole temperament was so indifferent. He easily walked into the barrier and saw the palace hidden in front of him. Senluo branch. When he appeared in front of the palace, the 2 Tai golden immortals in the palace hurriedly came out and saluted respectfully. Meet Immortal General Senming. Senming Xian will come to visit, how great. They were all extremely surprised. They didn't expect that the sect would move so quickly. Moreover, Mori Mingxian will come in person. You must know that Senming Immortal General is one of the most powerful immortal generals under Senluo Immortal Lord. Where are the soul lanterns of Lin Wenqi and the other 9 people? Lead me to see them. Senming spoke calmly and directly. Master Immortal General, please come this way. 2 Tai golden immortals led the way. After a while, they came to a secret room. The secret room has been blocked by various magical weapons. Because of the alienation of life, we were worried that something strange would come along the soul lamp, so we sealed this place with magic weapons. A Tai golden immortal explained. Senming Xianzhang heard this, but he frowned and shouted coldly. Don't talk nonsense, any talk about alienation of life is all nonsense. He didn't believe that there were any restricted areas outside the 3 heavens. The 2 Tai golden immortals were also silent for a moment. They took away the magic weapons that were about to close the door and opened the door. The moment they walked into the secret room, all 3 of them were suddenly shocked, and their expressions all changed drastically. Because, in the secret room, the 9 soul lamps have completely turned purple at this moment. His purple soul lamp? At this moment, the 3 of them couldn't help but gasp. No. Really, it's really the alienation of life, the alienation has been completed. A Tai golden immortal trembled and spoke. Among all the rumors related to the alienation of life, when the alienation is completed, the original owner's soul lamp will completely turn purple. At that time, it turned out that those people were still alive, but they were no longer their original lives. Become a slave to the restricted area. It's really alienation of life. Immortal General Senming also shrank his pupils. You can't keep these soul lanterns. He waved his hand, and suddenly, all 9 soul lamps were extinguished. As the soul lamp was extinguished, the final connection between the Senluo branch and the 9 Tai Golden Immortals, including Lin Wenqi, was severed. It seems that this incident is really involved. Senming Immortal General murmured, coupled with the recent events in the immortal realm, I always have an ominous premonition. At this time, a messenger from outside suddenly ran over, report. News just came from the Xianming dynasty. There are hundreds of thousands of coalition forces in the Diming realm, and all the soul lamps have all turned purple. Hearing this, the three people in the secret room all had extremely heavy expressions on their faces. It can actually accommodate hundreds of thousands of restricted area slaves. How big must this restricted area be? The two Tai Golden Immortals looked at each other and saw fear in each other's eyes. Immortal General Senming also suddenly felt a sense of heaviness. Let all the forces in the Diming realm extinguish those soul lamps, I will go to the so-called New World to see it myself. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left the palace directly. The remaining two Tai Golden Immortals looked at each other in shock. Immortal General Senming appeared in the Void Sea in an instant. He is heading towards the so-called Big World. Extremely fast. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 147. Senchao Moriaki is very fast. Soon, he appeared in the void sea of heaven. Huh? There seems to be a kind of demonic aura in this void. He sensed something very keenly. He thought for a moment, could it be that the disappearance of hundreds of thousands of coalition forces in the Diming realm and so many Tai Golden Immortals was related to the demons? The millions of lower realms are not just under the jurisdiction of the immortal realm. There are also parts of the lower realm that correspond to the demonic realm. Demons can also sneak into their lower realms. However, the lower realm controlled by the fairy realm and the demon realm are clearly distinct. Even the lower realm of the demon realm, which is the closest to here, is still hundreds of millions of miles away in the void. If the demons want to cross over, they are seeking death, because being discovered by any world on the way will trigger a war. There has always been a fight between the demons and humans. Whether it is true or not, I will find out today. He was immediately ready to enter the world in front of him. But, right now, he suddenly felt something in his heart, turned his head suddenly, and looked in a certain direction. In that direction, a black shadow approached like a comet, arriving in an instant. Demon. Immortal General Senming was taken aback and immediately hid himself. He had just hidden himself when he saw an old man in black robes, already carrying a little girl on his back, appearing in this area. The old man sniffed in the air and said, "It should indeed be here. Even I feel a kind of devilish breath. It's rich and scattered, it really comes from the soul that has lost its independent consciousness." He looked solemn. The little girl on his back said excitedly, "There must have been a big battle between two souls, but in the end both parties died together, haha, they must be hiding in this world. Come on, let's go quickly. The other souls probably haven't arrived yet." The old man nodded, took one step immediately, and the next moment, he had disappeared. Secretly. The immortal general is bright and his eyes are extremely solemn. The demonic energy is so strong, no weaker than mine, this is a demon commander. He murmured, seeing the strength of the old man just now. Why did the handsome devil appear in the lower realm of our fairyland? Who is the little girl he is carrying? It makes me feel familiar and strange. He pondered deeply, feeling vaguely that this matter was not simple. However, before he could figure out the answer, another black shadow appeared in the void sea. This black shadow is also very fast and also appears in this area. This time, the person who came was a strong man with extremely developed muscles. His body was as burly as an iron tower, with magic marks all over his body, full of power. Similarly, there is a little girl sitting on his shoulder. This little girl is exactly the same as what the old man was carrying on his back earlier. Quick, I feel that there have been other demonic auras in this space. Someone must have entered first. The little girl sitting on the shoulders of the strong man had a look of eagerness on her face. As you command. This tower-like man immediately disappeared into the world ahead. In the dark, Immortal General Senming frowned suddenly, his eyes filled with suspicion. It's another devil commander, what's going on? Moreover, the two little girls before and after are exactly the same. They both gave me the same aura. He became more and more solemn. This matter is becoming more and more suspicious. At this moment, a third demonic figure appeared in this void sea. Likewise, there is another demon commander carrying a little girl on his back. There is no doubt that this little girl is exactly the same as the previous two. Senmingxian will be filled with doubts and become more and more puzzling. What exactly is there in this world? The three great demon commanders are coming one after another? Moreover, why do those three little girls all give him the same familiar aura? What is the origin? At this moment, the fourth demonic figure appeared again. Another devilish commander, another identical little girl, enters the world ahead again. Four demon commanders are coming in succession. Could it be that a certain demon king in the demon realm is gathering his followers here? Immortal General Senming's face was extremely solemn. At this moment, he was a little afraid to enter this world again. Who knows what terrible existence is hidden in it? He was sure that there must be someone beyond the demon commander. Otherwise, these demon commanders would not arrive one after another. Enter, or leave first. He hesitates. However, at this moment, a wave of blood energy suddenly filled up. The fifth demonic figure appears. This is a demon commander holding a bloody sword in his hand. In his arms, he is also holding a little girl. This demon commander has a stern face and his aura is extremely powerful. Even in the dark, Immortal General Senming felt the terrifying murderous aura. The moment he saw this devil commander, Immortal General Senming almost lost his voice and said, "It's him." A look of horror suddenly flashed across his eyes. He recognizes this demon commander. Demon commander Xuanhuan, he invaded the immortal realm in the past. If I remember correctly, he was the most powerful demon general under the 9 Saint Demon Lord. There were 12 elders in the Senluo Saint section, they died in his Changji under. He murmured, his eyelids twitching wildly. In the past, when the demon realm invaded the immortal realm, the Senluo Holy Sect sent people to join the battle. He was lucky enough to participate in one of the battles, and in that battle, their opponent was the demon commander Xuanhuan under the 9 Saint Demon Lord. He still remembered that this demon slayer killed 12 Deluo Jinxian of the Senluo Holy Sect in succession. At that time, he hid in the pile of dead people and escaped the disaster. Therefore, he was so impressed by Xuanhuan. He couldn't help but murmured, "It's actually him," but the 9 Saint Demon Lord failed to attack the immortal king nearly 10,000 years ago and fell into the world. The name of the 9 Saint Demon King has also shocked the fairyland, and he is known as one of the most powerful demon kings in the demonic realm. Moreover, he also knew that in the past, Immortal Lord Senluo had teamed up with 2 other immortal lords to snipe the 9 Saint Demon Lord. However, the final outcome is that the 9 Saints Demon Lord kills one of the immortal lords, and blood rains on the fairyland, but the 9 Saints Demon Lord himself escapes intact. That battle also gave the 9 Saints a terrible reputation, making the heroes of the immortal realm dare not look away. While Immortal Senming was thinking, Xuanhuan had already brought the little girl into this world. There are 9 great demon kings under the command of the 9 Saint Demon Lord. 5 of them have come in a row. Maybe there are others behind. He immediately waited patiently. However, he waited for a long time, but no other magic commander appeared. Could it be that 4 demon commanders were trapped before I came? Probably. He muttered. The 5 great demon commanders have arrived, bringing 5 identical little girls. He was thinking, and suddenly, a light flashed in his eyes. No. That little girl, could it be, could it be? He thought of a possibility. However, he shook his head again and again, feeling that the thoughts in his mind were too crazy. It's impossible, the 9 Saint Demon Lord has fallen. He stared at the world in front of him. At this moment, he suddenly understood why Senluo Holy Sect would continue to lose people here. Could it be said that before the 9 Saint Demon Lord fell, he created a forbidden land in this world? And now, those demon commanders are taking her soul, to the restricted area. There was a slight tremor in his words. With this said, a lot of things can be explained. The hundreds of thousands of coalition troops who disappeared in the Diming Realm, as well as the 9 Tai Golden Immortals of the Senluo Holy Sect, may have become slaves of the Forbidden Land in the Forbidden Land of the 9 Saint Demon King. Moreover, the 9 Saint Demon Lord fell because she failed to attack the realm of the Immortal King. It is entirely possible for her to escape from the Forbidden Land. It must be understood that the reason why forbidden areas are forbidden is because these places involve big weird things on the path of cultivation, and all cultivators in the world are as afraid of them as tigers. Or, something ominous has happened to the Immortal King. Or, in the process of impacting the realm of the Immortal King, I encountered those unspeakable things. In a word, the restricted area is above immortality. And the 9 Saint Demon King should have touched this level back then. If it is true, this plan of the 9 Saint Demon Lord is too shocking, right? The 9 Saints and Demon Lords may reappear in the world. Thinking of the terror of the 9 Saint Demon Lord, he was frightened. This matter is definitely beyond my ability to handle, and I must inform the Immortal Lord. He turned around and left without hesitation. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 148. Skyline. Southern region, small mountain village. Thank you for your help, big brother. This sister has been solved. Xuanhuan obediently saluted Li Fan. You are welcome. Li Fan smiled and said, Come, I'll teach you a new poem. He picked up the pen, put it on the rice paper, and quickly wrote a poem. Stay firm on the green hills and don't let go, your roots are still in the broken rocks. Still strong despite being struck hard by countless blows, no matter how strong the winds are, from east to west, from north to south. Xuanhuan followed Li Fan, and after reading the poem, her big eyes showed a strange light. This poem is different from what Li Fan taught before. In the past, Li Fan probably taught her many poems with clear and interesting lines to cultivate her body and mind. But this time, this song has a sense of impassionedness. Zinning, do you know why I taught you this poem? Li Fan asked. Xuanhuan shook his head and said, Xuanhuan doesn't know. Li Fan gently stroked the hair on her forehead and said, I hope you can hold on to your heart. In life, you will always face all kinds of setbacks, all kinds of tribulations, and all kinds of dangers and insidiousness, but you always need to persist in a spirit of emerging from the mud without being stained, and a kind of integrity that can be traced without being evil. Just like the bamboo rooted in the rocks on the mountain, never give up, never give up. He was worried that Xuanhuan would lose the purity of his heart because of experiencing the dangers of the human heart. After all, in the midst of a wealthy family, he was persecuted by his sisters and was displaced to this mountain village. Under such circumstances, even if he is a good boy, he can easily become distorted. Li Fan just wanted to use this poem to strengthen her kind heart. Hearing this, Xuanhuan's big eyes suddenly flashed with the light of enlightenment. Still strong after countless hardships, no matter how strong the wind is from east to west, north, or south. Cleaning out of the mud but not staining, washing the clear ripples without being evil. She murmured, seeming to have understood something. Big brother taught me to read poetry, is it to make me, get rid of the devilish nature in me? At this moment, she seemed to understand Li Fan's good intentions during this period. The reason why he told me this truth now is because he is worried that after fusing other souls, I will lose myself and turn into a vicious and violent monster. When she thought like this, she suddenly became vigilant. Yes, she had absorbed new souls, but those souls could easily affect herself. I want to refine them, and I must not let my mind be affected by them. She was determined. Miss Gong Ya, the matter is settled. At this time, a voice suddenly came from outside the small courtyard. It's Jingmi's. Hearing this, Gong Yame's eyes suddenly flashed with nervous anticipation. Jingmi came back to report, which means, the fish finally took the bait again. Xianning also showed a smile, and she said to Li Fan. Big brother, you helped me solve my sister's problem this morning. I took the opportunity to call my other 7 sisters. I will go out and solve this matter with them, and I will come back, okay? After devouring one soul, her strength has greatly improved and she can easily deal with other souls. Moreover, she has 2 demon commanders as assistants, so she does not plan to rely on Li Fan anymore. After all, if such seniors kept bothering him, he would get bored. Hearing this, Li Fan was startled. Xianning has 7 younger sisters? This means that Xianning was originally the 9th sister? Isn't this, too fertile? As expected of a wealthy family. He felt complicated, but he didn't say much. After all, it would be best to resolve it once and for all. Okay, if you need help, just ask. Li Fan spoke. Thank you, big brother. Xianning thanked her lively, and then walked out of the courtyard with Gong Ya again. After walking out of the Wu'er leisure courtyard, Jingmi stood outside with great respect and said. Demon Lord Qi, 5 souls have arrived in succession. 5 ways. Let's go out and greet them. Xianning led the 2 of them out of the mountain village. As soon as they left the village entrance, Xianning suddenly stretched out her hand, and an unconscious soul suddenly appeared in the field. Is this, the demon lord can take out the soul at will? Gong Ya spoke in surprise. Since we have arranged scented bait to catch goldfish, we have to do it more realistically. Come on, let's retreat to the village. This way, no one can detect us. Xianning smiled. The 3 of them immediately returned to the village and waited under the wall. Not long after, a black shadow suddenly appeared in front of the village. This is an old man carrying a little girl on his back. The little girl's face was very pale, but there was a strange look in her eyes. That is the soul. The little girl suddenly pointed at a floating soul in front of the village entrance. The old man was also shocked. Why is the demon lord's soul floating here? This place looks very scary, like a forbidden place. He immediately said. Demon Lord, this place is too dangerous. We don't know the depth. We immediately absorb the soul and leave. The little girl also nodded and said, okay. After saying that, she jumped down from the old man's back, and the next moment, she appeared in front of the soul. She stretched out her hand to grab the soul. But the soul, as if it felt threatened, actually floated towards the village. Stop. The little girl followed closely and grabbed hard. At this moment, a black vortex suddenly appeared above the little girl's head. Oh no! The little girl immediately looked up in horror. At this moment, she hurriedly wanted to retreat. But, it's too late. The whirlpool was so terrifying that it was about to swallow her up. Demon Lord. The old man behind was shocked, this was actually a trap. He rushed forward without hesitation and was about to take action against the whirlpool. But at the same time, 2 auras that were on par with him suddenly appeared and blocked him. Boom! He collided with these two auras, but his figure stopped. The moment he stopped, the soul of the demon lord he was guarding had lost the ability to struggle and was completely sucked into the black vortex. Demon Lord. The old man's eyes were red, like a crazy lion, beating his chest and beating his feet with mad hatred. Shan Ming, isn't your devil here? Why are you so crazy? At this time, a childish voice sounded. A little girl came with her hands behind her back and a smile on her lips. Her aura is very powerful, and at this moment it is not even weaker than Gongya and Jingmi. After devouring the first soul, she returned to the peak realm of Tai Golden Demon, and now she devoured another one, officially entering the realm of Delugo Golden Demon. Her current strength can be called a devilish commander. Behind her, Jingmi and Gongya followed, one on the left and the other on the right. When the old man Shan Ming saw this little girl, he suddenly looked shocked. You set this trap. He already understood it all. This is simply a trap. The purpose is to attract other souls to come and devour them. But at this time, Jingmi shouted coldly. Shan Ming, according to the demon lord's previous orders, although the 9 of us each assist a soul, once the soul we assist is swallowed, the devourer must be recognized as the master. Because, no matter who devours whom, the devil will eventually return. How dare you hide your selfish motives and disrespect the demon lord? When Shan Ming heard this, he smiled bitterly and said, how could I forget the demon lord's death? After saying that, he saluted directly towards Xuanhuan and said respectfully, meet the demon king. Xuanhuan smiled and said, okay, stop saluting, come here and hide, don't be discovered by others later. Shan Ming's expression was complicated, but he still walked behind Xuanhuan and followed closely. Not long after, a second black shadow appeared in the field. Xuanhuan follows the same method. The third way. The fourth way. After 5 consecutive souls, Xuanhuan's power skyrocketed, directly reaching the 6th level of the Great Lugo Golden Demon. And there were 3 great demon kings who all submitted to her. At this moment, the last breath appeared, and the blood surged. I saw a man holding a blood gun in his hand and holding a little girl, appearing coldly on the scene. At the entrance of the village, 2 souls are left at this moment. Quick, I'm going to devour them. The little girl in his arms looked very anxious. However, Demon Commander Xuanhuan frowned and said, this place is ominous. Demon Lord, we are the last to arrive. It makes no sense that the soul here is still there, but no one else can be seen. We should retreat. He spoke. No. How could you do this? I order you to take me there immediately. The little girl in his arms spoke angrily. Xuanhuan frowned. He, why, you can see it, is this my trap? At this time, a voice sounded in the small mountain village. Xuanhuan walked out with the 6 demon commanders. Seeing Jingmi, Shan Ming, Gongya and others following her, Xuanhuan's pupils shrank. This means, the other party has swallowed the 6 souls? How terrible! He subconsciously turned around and left. Even if he is the strongest among the 9 demon commanders, he has no chance of winning against the 6 demon commanders of the same level. What's more, Xuanhuan at this moment is obviously extremely arrogant. Xuanhuan, you don't want to escape, do you? Xuanhuan smiled and said. You are my strongest demon commander. Come on, I will fight you. If you win, I will let the soul you serve devour me. If you lose, you have to sacrifice her. How? Xuanhuan had originally intended to retreat, but when he heard this, he suddenly raised his head and said. Really? Gongya also said eagerly. Demon Lord, no, we are sure of victory at this moment, how can we give him such an opportunity so easily? Xuanhuan waved her hand and said. You all stand aside. Ganya's heart was filled with worries, but she could only sigh and retreat. Xueji also put down the little girl in his arms and said, "Demon Lord, please wait a moment." After saying that, he stepped forward while eating the bloody changa, stared at Xuanhuan and said, "You asked for this." After saying this, he danced wildly with his sword, his blood energy was overwhelming, and he was extremely frightened. He stabbed straight at him, like a river of blood rolling. The demon commander of the first generation took action, and the surrounding area almost collapsed with it. The power was terrifying. So strong. In the past few years, Blood Ge has entered the country again. I'm afraid that he himself has touched the threshold of immortality. The demon commander has just fused a few souls, and they are far from stable. How can he be his opponent? Shanming, Jingmi, and others were all anxious. However, until this moment, Xuanhuan was still extremely calm. Countless waves of blood rushed in, and murderous intent filled the sky, but she suddenly stretched out her hand and read a poem at the same time. There are several plum trees in the corner, and Linghan is blooming alone. I know it's not snow from a distance, because there is a faint fragrance coming. As soon as this poem came out, her whole body was suddenly filled with an extremely clear aura. Wherever she went, those terrifying blood energy could not infect her at all. At this moment, she didn't look like a terrifying demon king at all, but like a goddess from the 9 heavens. Extremely elegant, extremely clear, and otherworldly. She pushed aside countless blood energy, appeared in front of Xueji, and pointed lightly. On her little hand, magical plum blossoms bloomed. The plum blossoms bloomed, but at this moment, millions of blood energy dispersed, and countless murderous auras disappeared. A plum blossom quietly fell on the tip of the bloody Changji. The Changji in Xueji's hand was trembling even more at this moment. An irresistible force was transmitted along his Changji, causing blood to flow wildly from his tiger's mouth. In an instant, Xueji's pupils shrank and he exclaimed, but his whole person flew out upside down. Bang! The blood gun hit the ground hard, smoke and dust flew everywhere, and a terrifying giant pit appeared on the ground. Xueji, defeated. At this moment, many demon commanders in the field looked at Xuanhuan's back with incredible looks in their eyes. That poem, that kind of charm. They were extremely shocked. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 149. The 6 demon commanders in the field were all shocked at this moment, looking at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Xueji is actually so vulnerable? Xuanhuan just took action and he was already defeated. The demon lord is so terrifying. His strength is almost the same as before. Shanming murmured. Xueji's shot just now has faintly touched the threshold of immortality. I'm afraid the 6 of us can only take it if we work together, but the demon lord is so easy. The demon king, who was as tall and strong as an iron tower, spoke. His name was Tishan, with a look of shock on his face. Just now, I actually felt that demon lord was like a pure and refined goddess. A poem could have such powerful power. Is this why Senior Li teaches demon lord to read poems every day? Ganya's beautiful eyes were full of shock. Normally, she didn't feel anything scary about Professor Li Fan's poems. She was even worried that Xuanhuan had been reading poetry with Li Fan without practicing, which would lead to stagnant cultivation and would be unable to compete with other souls. Only now do I know, how could a terrifying person like Senior Li do meaningless things? There is clearly a terrifying avenue in those poems. Xuanhuan fell down, clapped her hands, with a proud look on her face, and said, "You lost." In the huge pit filled with smoke and dust in front of him, Xueji reluctantly climbed up and supported himself with the Xueji, but his face was so embarrassed. I am actually so unbearable. I lost, but you didn't use the demon lord's skills to defeat me, you used the skills from the immortal realm. Xueji looked at Xianning. Xianning said calmly. So what? In this life, I want to follow the path of fellow immortals and demons, can't I? Stop chirping, and quickly bring her over for me to eat. There was some impatience on her little face. Fellow immortals and demons. Xueji murmured, as if he thought this path was unimaginable. However, he still turned his head and looked at the little girl behind him. The little girl's eyes suddenly showed a look of horror and she said, Xueji, I am your master, I am the demon lord, you can't mess around. She said, suddenly turned around and ran away. She has understood that Zinning has grown up now and is not something she can covet at all. On the contrary, if you don't escape, you will be devoured. I'm sorry. Only in this way can the demon lord return as soon as possible. Xueji spoke in a low voice, and Xuechanga stabbed suddenly. A bloody divine light instantly penetrated the little girl who was running away. There was a trace of unwillingness in the little girl's eyes, but soon, her consciousness disappeared. It turned into a mass of ownerless soul. Xueji presented Xuanhuan with both hands, knelt down and said, Please let the devil absorb it, and wish the devil can regain his former glory as soon as possible. Seeing this, Xianning's eyes flashed with appreciation. He was worthy of being the demon commander she valued most back then. He was decisive in killing and loyal. Xueji counterattacked and destroyed that soul. Not only was he not a traitor, but it was precisely because he kept in mind the instructions of the Nine Saint Demon Lord in the past, which proved that he had no selfish motives. Whoever devours whomever, the final outcome will be the same. Very good. Xianning spoke and waved her hand gently. This soul was immediately absorbed into her body. Then, Xianning's aura suddenly soared again. She broke through again and entered the 7th level of Deluo Golden Demon. The Demon King is obviously only in the 7th level of Deluo Golden Demon. Why do I feel that her aura is approaching the immortal realm? Everyone murmured. Only Gongya looked complicated. She understood what all this was about. Senior Li. In this life, maybe the Demon Lord can really catch up with the immortal king, right? Her heart was suddenly filled with anticipation. Demon Lord, it seems that the other two souls have not come. Jingmi spoke. The other two souls are assisted by Yuki and Batu respectively. Once these two people separated, there was no trace of them again. Everyone spoke. Xianning showed no fluctuations and said calmly. It doesn't matter, there will always be opportunities in the future. Moreover, I have sensed that the other two souls should have merged into one. Hearing this, everyone was startled. Okay, you guys will live in seclusion outside the village from now on. The matter was over, and Xianning began to arrange for these demon commanders to be reunited under her command. Ming Tianbei. She called out, and Ming Tianbei from the village entrance hurriedly ran out and said respectfully, Meet the Demon King. He had been hiding behind the village wall and was shocked when he saw the whole process. The Demon Lord is growing too fast. It seemed that the thigh that the Demon Lord held in that small courtyard was really thick. From now on, you will be responsible for taking good care of Tishan, Shanming, Jingmi, and others. Xianning spoke. Hearing this, Ming Tianbei was immediately stunned. Own. Taking care of such a group of devils? Isn't this difficult for a strong demon? I seem to be just a little golden demon. Demon Lord, He looked troubled. Shanming, Tishan, and others also frowned immediately. Demon Lord, why do I need him to take care of me? Xueji even opened his mouth. As a demon commander, how could he let a little golden demon take care of him? In what manner? Right. If the Demon Lord thinks that we are in the way, we can go to the outside world to fight. Others also spoke. However, Xianning looked at Ming Tianbei and said, Don't think too much, I just think that they are afraid of making Senior Li unhappy when they enter a small mountain village with so many demons. So, what I mean by asking you to take care of them is, give them some of the things you get from begging in the village. Don't be too stingy. Hearing this, Ming Tianbei was startled for a moment, but he suddenly understood. As you command. He spoke immediately. Xueji and others were all surprised. What's the situation? In the words of the demon lord, he actually claimed that someone else was his senior. Moreover, because he is afraid that the senior will be unhappy, he cannot let himself and others enter the mountain village. How can this be? They were all shocked. Only Jingmi had a complicated look on his face at this moment. He thought about the terrifying little courtyard he had entered before, and thought about the supreme words that made him irresistible. Xianning looked at Xueji and others and said, "Don't be dissatisfied. The things Ming Tianbei can beg for in the village are much rarer than what you usually see. If you don't believe me, look at the broken bowl he used for begging." Xianning spoke. Ming Tianbei raised the broken bowl in his hands so that the demon commanders could take a closer look. This broken bowl, is a quasi-mortal weapon. Shan Ming was immediately shocked. It's scary. The incomplete bowl can reach the quasi-mortal level, how scary would it be when it's complete? Tishan was shocked. Xueji's pupils suddenly shrank. Gentlemen, this kind of thing is, very common in the village. Ming Tianbei said weakly. This is garbage that the villagers don't want. I picked it up from the roadside. Unwanted garbage. Picked up on the roadside. Suddenly, a group of demon commanders were dumbfounded. Can the garbage that the villagers don't want be used as quasi-sacred objects? What kind of village is this? Everyone, don't forget, this may be a restricted area. At this time, Shan Ming suddenly remembered and was startled. The faces of all the demon commanders suddenly turned pale. Yes. The atmosphere here is clearly terrifying, like a restricted area. Therefore, the villagers Ming Tianbei mentioned. Are they all forbidden creatures? This makes sense. It turns out that the demon lord is protected by the lord of the forbidden zone. Tishan suddenly realized. I see. Xueji also murmured. Everyone, it's a blessing that you can't go in. This village is really scary. Jingmi couldn't help but speak. He had gone in once, and he knew that there was murderous intent everywhere. When everyone heard this, they became even more silent and looked at each other in confusion. After a long time, Shan Ming suddenly coughed and said, "Ahem, well, Tianbei, if there is any garbage in the village from now on, please pay attention to me and pick up some and share them with me." Tishan even said, "I'm not picky. I want all the garbage in this village." Even Xueji, who had always been unruly, could not help but say after being silent for a long time, "If you come across spears, lances, and other junk, leave it to me." Ming Tianbei listened, his expression was extremely complicated. I am a small demon guard, but today I have so many demon commanders bending over to beg for help. This is simply, you can pick up a piece of heaven even if you pick up rubbish. I, Ming Tianbei, will definitely work overtime from now on. I will take care of all the garbage in the village and work hard to strengthen the demon lord's team. He swore secretly. And at this moment, the infinite depths of the void sea. The sea here is full of chaos and distortion. Every world is shrouded in black mist. Here, the realm beyond the millions of lower realms governed by the immortal realm. In every world, there is so much evil. This place is opposite to the immortal realm, and is the lower realm governed by the demonic realm. If someone can look down at the entire sea of void, he will definitely be able to see that in the endless sea of void, the black lower realm and the white lower realm are densely packed, but distinct, and they are divided into two in a mysterious area. Do not blend with each other. The black area is far larger and more complex than the area composed of the white lower realm. Black is like a melon, white is like a bean. The area composed of the white world even feels like being surrounded by the black world. And at this moment, in a certain terrifying world, the monstrous demonic energy gathered into a terrifying giant python outside the world, swallowing the sky, absorbing the endless void sea energy, and pouring it back into this world. The endless air of the void sea flows down with the black python, all the way through the black world. From the perspective of the black world, the black demonic energy forming the black python is like a pillar of heaven, extending beyond the sky. The endless air of the void sea was coerced and injected into a certain demon palace. The demon palace is full of bones, all made of the heads of various creatures. In the demon palace, 2 demon commanders with powerful cultivation were guarding outside a palace gate. And inside the main hall, sitting cross-legged on a futon and practicing, was actually a little girl with black devilish aura all over her body. The black sky pillar that runs through the entire world has swallowed up countless amounts of air from the void sea, and then poured it into this place, where it is being refined by her. In front of her, there is a strange sculpture enshrined above. The sculpture has 6 arms and no head, but it has the aura of dominating the world. Countless void energies were refined by her, and her aura continued to rise. Finally, with a soft bang, her realm broke through again. The terrifying black demonic energy that penetrated this world also slowly dissipated at this moment. Outside the hall, the 2 demon commanders finally came in at this moment, kneeled on the ground respectfully, and said, "Congratulations to the demon lord, you have reached a higher level and are not far away from regaining your former invincible style." However, the little girl sneered. "What's there to congratulate for restoring your former glory? What I want in this life is to be stronger," one of them said flatteringly. "With the support of the immortal king, the demon king will definitely be stronger." The little girl snorted and said, "Stop flattering, is there any movement over there in the black and white world?" Hearing this, another demon commander immediately said in a deep voice, "Demon Lord Chi, since it was opened once a year ago, something seems to have escaped, and it has never been opened again." The little girl nodded and said, "Show me the world of black and white. It is the burial place of the king of black and white. The opportunity in it may be the key to my challenge to the immortal king in this life. For the sake of the things here, I didn't even care about the chance of soul reunion." She looked somewhere in the void sea. Hearing this, one of the demon commanders said doubtfully, "Soul reunion?" The little girl said calmly, "Yes, I sense that the other 7 souls have gathered together. Haha, I hope that I over there will grow up faster and not be unable to keep up with my pace, otherwise, it won't be interesting." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 150. Now. Beyond heaven. A void naval ship is constantly approaching the sea area. This naval ship is very, very big. On the deck of the naval ship, there is a silver-haired old man playing chess with a young man. The old man frowned, unable to make a move. The young man had a look of disdain and contempt in his eyes. "That's all." The old man thought for a long time and finally gave birth to a son. "Extremely stupid, you lose," the young man said coldly and dropped a piece of money. Suddenly, the old man's expression froze. His chess path has been completely blocked. There is no life at all. The old man immediately stood up, bowed to the young man, and said, "The power of Shenziki is too strong, and I am no match for you." His old eyes were full of emotion. He is worthy of being the son of 2 generations, with amazing talent and unparalleled chess skills. Even though he is the great elder of the chess immortal sect and can be called a chess saint in the sect, compared with this young man, he is like an ant. They come from Dining Realm, Qixian sect. The Dining Realm is a big world in the Daizu realm, and the Qixian sect is a top sect in that world, with followers in the immortal realm. And the young man in front of him is the current holy son of Qixian sect, Chen Xuanbei. Chen Xuanbei was originally just a handyman disciple of Qixian sect, but last year, he suddenly awakened. It turns out that he is a man of two lives. People of two lives refer to those who are reborn. Reborn people are generally very powerful in their previous lives, and after rebirth, they have even more powerful advantages and will surely soar into the sky. When Chen Xuanbei awakened his past life memories, Qixianzong deposed the former holy son without hesitation and regarded Chen Xuanbei as the holy son. And Chen Xuanbei did not live up to their expectations. At a young age, his chess skills were astonishing and he was unrivaled in the Qixian sect. And in order to hone himself, he even proposed to travel around the world to find his opponents. The Qixian sect immediately sent the great elder Xuanhuan to escort him all the way. "Zhang Li, you loser, why don't you bring the Holy Sun spiritual tea quickly?" The great elder Xuanhuan sighed, and then scolded a young man next to him who was cleaning the floor. The chess immortal sect treats Chen Xuanbei like a god, so every time after playing chess, he must prepare spiritual tea for him to rest his spirit. The young man who was cleaning the floor, his clothes were very thin and shabby. Hearing this, he quickly got up and went to pour tea. He is the original holy son of Qixian sect, Zhang Li. Ever since the reborn Chen Xuanbei awakened, he has been demoted as Chen Xuanbei's slave. Not long after, Zhang Li came over with tea, his head lowered, his eyes filled with humiliation. But, he didn't say anything. Skills are not as good as others. In this world, being dishonest is the original sin. That's all, the tea you pour with your dirty hands is just as good as feeding the pigs. Roll. Chen Xuanbei spoke coldly. Zhang Li's hands trembled slightly, but he still turned around and left. Remember the words of the Holy Sun, I told you to use it to feed pigs. If you dare to throw it away privately, I will chop off your hand. The great elder Xuanhuan spoke sternly. There is really a pig on this boat. It was Chen Xuanbei's psychic pig that could search for specific treasures. Yes. Zhang Li opened his mouth, and after finishing speaking, he turned and left. Holy Sun, in fact, there is no one in these millions of lower realms who can be your opponent. You should set your sights on the immortal realm. Xuanhuan looked at Chen Xuanbei and said respectfully. Are you qualified to question my decision? Chen Xuanbei sneered. Xuanhuan immediately fell silent and did not dare to say anything more. He knew that ordinary people should never treat reborn people as ordinary people. He could not afford to offend the big boss in his previous life, and most likely even the Qixian sect could not afford to offend him. Chen Xuanbei looked at the world in front of him and murmured. It's been a year since I escaped from the black and white world, I hope to find the unbounded chessboard sooner. He has never revealed his origins to the outside world. The world of black and white? Only he himself knows that it is a terrifying place, related to a legendary immortal king, and he knows even better that if he wants to enter it, he must find a relic of that immortal king. Unbounded chessboard. The unbounded chessboard was left in the lower realm. He proposed to travel around the world and find people to play chess with. This was just a cover-up. Finding that chessboard was his purpose. In my last life, I reached immortality, but eventually fell into the world of black and white. In this life, since I, Chen Xuanbei, am reborn, it proves that I will be the master of heaven and earth. The reborn ones, throughout the ages, have all been the protagonists. He murmured that as a reborn person, things in the world of black and white are gifts prepared by God for him, the protagonist. Half a month ago, A shocking chess intention erupted in this void sea area. It seemed to involve the immortal, and even alarmed the fairyland. The unbounded chessboard should be here, he thought. As a person who escaped from the world of black and white, he is very sensitive to the way of chess. Half a month ago, in the lower world, Zhang Li, the former fallen genius of the first heaven realm, became enlightened with his will, killed the immortal realm, and slaughtered the holy gold immortal lord, causing a sensation in the heaven and earth. The world doesn't know the reason, but on that day, he felt a supreme chess technique that shook the world. He was excited because, throughout the ages, there was only one person who could possess that kind of chess skills. The legendary figure among the immortal kings, the King of Black and White. The King of Black and White has fallen for hundreds of thousands of years, so that aura must be coming from his relic, the unbounded chessboard. It was with this in mind that he hurried to this void sea. Seeing the world in front of him gradually approaching, Xuanhuan said immediately, "Let that pig guy take out my master's psychic pig." The psychic pig was also brought out of the world of black and white by him. He is very sensitive to the aura left by the King of Black and White. He wants to explore this world. Zhang Li held the cup of tea and walked numbly to a cabin. In the cabin, another young man was covering a black piglet lying on the bed. What the hell, humans are inferior to pigs, humans are really inferior to pigs. The young man cursed, and while covering the pig with a quilt, he slapped the pig twice in the face. The pig just looked at him coldly, with a strange look in his eyes. "Wu Dade, this is for pigs to drink." Zhang Li stood outside the cabin and handed over the cup of tea. Wu Dade, a young man who was taking care of the pigs, took the tea and became even more angry. "This is spiritual tea, but it is used to feed pigs, a waste." He is the outer beast master of Qi Xian section. His status is very low, but he is quite spiritual in beast control, so he was taken by Xuanhuan to raise his psychic pig. "Hey, stop scolding and feed him quickly." Zhang leaves the exit. "Zhang Li, let me tell you, you were a holy son before, why are you like this now? Let others step on you like this. Aren't you angry?" Wu Dade was carrying the tea and feeding it to the black pig, while he was heading toward Zhang Li. But Zhang Li sighed and said, "Xuanhuan is a man of 2 generations, and his chess skills are astonishing. Looking at the millions of lower realms, I am afraid that no one is his opponent. I can only let him step on me." There was reluctance and desire in his eyes, but more importantly, despair. The opponent's chess skills were so high that he would never be able to look up to him for the rest of his life. That guy has talent but no virtue. He won't last long. You haven't seen it before. Since he became the Holy Son, all the pretty female disciples in our sect have been played by him. Wu Dade said with some heartache. "Including my goddess who has never said a word." He suddenly turned around and held Zhang Li's hand, saying, "You have to work hard, Zhang Li. You are a kind person. I will not misjudge you. God will still favor you. When the time comes, speak up for me. I will only know how to raise pigs and dogs in this life, and I will know nothing else. It's over." Zhang Li also looked complicated, but said nothing. "God favors you. Is there still a chance? The Holy Son wants a psychic pig, why don't you take it out quickly?" At this time, a disciple from outside came to deliver a message. "Coming." Wu Dade immediately hugged the black suckling pig and walked out with Zhang Li. Walking to the deck, Xuanhuan took the psychic pig and gently placed his hand on the psychic pig's forehead. The black suckling pig suddenly sniffed wildly, and a thin ripple appeared in the void sea due to its breathing. The next moment, suddenly, the pig's eyes stared. It made a sound of tamp, 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 tamp towards the world in front of it. It was like seeing some delicious pig food. At this moment, Xuanhuan's pupils suddenly shrank, and a look of joy appeared on his face. "Right ahead. Great!" he shouted. Stop in the world ahead and send a message to this world. I, Xuanhuan, come to challenge. The psychic pig's behavior means that what he is looking for is in this world. He secretly shook his fist. Has the opportunity finally arrived? The era that belongs to me, Xuanhuan, is coming soon. I, Xuanhuan, am about to become the protagonist of this era. His heart was racing. The great elder stepped forward and personally sent a message to this world. Within the boundary wall of heaven, several immortals responsible for observing the outside world suddenly changed their expressions when they received the message from outside the territory. They immediately headed towards Xuanhuan Prefecture. I have to go there and report it? Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 151. Skyline. It has only been almost a month, but the fairy spiritual energy in this world has become more and more intense. Especially Xuanhuan Prefecture. The elites from each state have been gathered by the Xuanhuan Alliance to practice in Xuanhuan State. Progress is very rapid. Huolinger and Mu Jianning's cultivation levels are about to reach the perfection state of golden immortal. The two of them were deeply blessed by Li Fan. Every time they visited, they could drink enlightenment tea, eat flat peaches, holy medicine, etc. Their aptitudes were already invincible. Moreover, Li Fan's casual advice or two on weekdays made them far better than ordinary people. At this moment, they were discussing matters with Holy Lord Yuanyang and others. Nowadays, everyone in the heaven respects Senior Li, the Lord of the Heaven. There is a huge team to manage, and they can be considered hard-working. Reporting to the Alliance leader, a void naval ship was suddenly discovered outside the territory and is approaching the heaven. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside Taiyan Holy Land. Hearing this, Huolinger and others came out of Taiyan Holy Land. What's going on? Are we friends or foes? Huolinger asked. Since the war with the Daiming realm, for the sake of vigilance, the Heaven realm has arranged manpower to guard the inside of the boundary wall to observe the situation outside the territory at any time. I don't know yet. But the other party reported that they came from the Earthning realm and wanted to enter the Heaven realm. They said they came to find someone to play chess. I want to challenge all the chess players in our Xuanhuan realm. The courier spoke. Hearing this, Huolinger, Mu Jianning and others were all confused. Looking for someone to play chess with? What's going on? The dining realm, I have never heard of this realm. Huolinger murmured. Holy Lord Yuanyang suggested. Alliance leader, since the opponent only has one battleship, and they are here to find their opponents after naming them, we might as well let them in and see what's true. Huolinger nodded and said, let them in. In addition, immediately invite the 3 chess saints of Tianyan from the Earth-Wind realm, Mu Jianexi from the Xianzhen sect, Lu Xing, the little chess saint from the Daiyuan realm, and Xiaoyan from Huangtianzhou. Since the opponent comes to challenge the way of playing chess, we must find a master to fight against the opponent. In the last chess game in Huangtianzhou, a group of top chess players emerged, and they can come in handy this time. As you command. Several subordinates left immediately. Outside the boundary wall, a golden immortal walked out of the boundary wall, stretched out his hand and said, I have been ordered to invite you all to enter the heaven. Hearing this, the great elder Xuanhuan frowned on the Qixian sect's naval vessel. Heaven? How brave! They come from the big world in the earth realm and know more about the things in the first heaven realm. That's a taboo. In such a small and bordering world, if you dare to call yourself that, aren't you afraid of death? However, when Chen Xuanbei next to him heard these 2 words, his eyes lit up. As expected of the place I'm looking for. It must be a little special. He murmured and immediately said, let's go in. The naval ship immediately sailed into the boundary wall. No, there is something weird in this world, How can such a small world have such a strong fairy spirit? Just after crossing the boundary wall, a look of surprise suddenly flashed across Zhou Wenyuan's old face. The atmosphere here is very extraordinary. The intensity of the fairy spirit's energy has almost caught up with their ninja. However, you must know that the dining realm is the big world in the Daizu realm, second only to the existence of the three heavens. Something weird is interesting. Chen Xuanbei is getting more and more excited. After getting the unbounded chessboard, he can conquer this realm and regard it as the first realm to establish his own orthodoxy. All of this is a gift prepared by God for himself, the protagonist. What is a child of destiny? He is called the son of destiny. Everyone, in the heaven, the two leaders of the Xiantian alliance are in charge of important events. Please come with me. At this moment, Jin Xian, who was responsible for leading the way, spoke. They immediately followed the Golden Immortal and headed towards Xiantian Prefecture. Xuanhuan. At this moment, many masters are already waiting in Taiyan Holy Land. Tianyuan's three great chess masters, Mu Chenxi, the minor chess master Lu Xing, and Huang Tianzhou Xiaoyan, who was a blockbuster at the time, were all invited. Little chess saint Lu Xing is still white-haired and looks like an old man. He spent his life energy last time and cannot make up for it. Xiaoyan, on the other hand, had a look of expectation on his face at this moment. I am the protagonist of this world. Although I was defeated by Lu Rang last time, it was only because the opponent had a backer. This time, I will take this opportunity to perform well. With Mr. Yang's help, I will definitely be able to win, and then, I will probably be appreciated by the Lord of Heaven. At that time, I will still be the protagonist of this world. I am the only protagonist of this world. He thought to himself. Since the last setback in Huang Tianzhou, he has been looking for opportunities. I want to meet the supreme being behind Lu Rang and Dugu Yuking. He believed that as long as he met a person like him who was destined to be the protagonist, he would be favored by the other person and be accepted as a disciple. This time someone comes to challenge the heaven, it is a good opportunity. Must grasp it well. Several other people were discussing. Haha, I heard that the people coming this time actually want to challenge the chess skills of the heavens. The old chess sage Bai Yiza sneered and said, you are really here to die. Yes, the chess skills of the heavenly realm are definitely good among the millions of lower realms. The opponent has hit a brick wall. Show them. The others also spoke. Guests from dining realm have arrived. At this time, a loud shout sounded. The void ship has arrived. The mountain protecting formation of Taiyan Holy Land was immediately opened. The void navy ship landed immediately, and a group of people from Kixian sect landed at the mountain gate of Taiyan Holy Land. Holy Son, this world is not simple, and this Xiantian state is even more not simple. The fairy spiritual energy in the state is completely comparable to our dining world. If there are weird things, you have to be careful. Great Elder Zhou Wenyuan reminded again. He is more cautious. Don't worry, everything is fine. Besides, there is not even Tai Golden Immortal in this world, so why are you afraid? Chen Xuanbei was very casual. In his opinion, this world is extremely rich, but the natives are weaker than the last. If he hadn't first explored the location of the unbounded chessboard, he would have wanted Zhou Wenyuan to use Tai Golden Immortal's cultivation to destroy this world so that he could take over. Hearing this, Zhou Wenyuan also nodded, maybe he was too cautious. Chen Xuanbei immediately stepped forward, followed by Zhou Wenyuan and several elders. The deposed Saint Zhongli and Wu Dade, who was holding a black suckling pig, also followed. Excuse me, who is in charge here? Zhou Wenyuan immediately looked at everyone in Taiyan Holy Land. Huo Ling'er led people forward to greet him. Holy Lord Yuan Yang opened his mouth and introduced. These two are the goddess Huo Ling'er and the goddess Mu Jianing, the leaders of the Xiantian Alliance. May I ask where your distinguished guests are from? What do you do with them? Xuanhuan said calmly. Xuanhuan, the decrepit elder of the Ningxia Qixian sect, this is our sect's holy son, Chen Xuanbei. He stretched out his hand towards Chen Xuanbei and said, my holy son has unparalleled chess skills and is invincible in the world of Earth and Ning. Therefore, I have searched all over the world just to find an opponent. I passed by this world today, and I came here to invite the players from this world to play. If anyone can defeat the half-son of the holy son of our sect, these will be yours. He waved his hand, and the two elders behind him took out two large gold-painted boxes from the space ring. Open it and see all kinds of treasures inside. Including elixirs that exude fragrant fragrance, magic weapons that exude powerful immortal power, and super-grade immortal spiritual stones. Great value. Everyone in Xiantian Prefecture was shocked when they saw this. Inviting to fight against all worlds, what a great courage. To be able to take out so many treasures in one breath must come from the big world. It would be great if I could win these treasures. Everyone spoke. Holy Lord Yuanyang frowned and said, what if we lose? He thinks deeply and thinks about defeat rather than victory. After all, since Chen Xuanbei has the courage to challenge chess players from many worlds, he must have something special about him. Of course, in fact, everyone in Xiantian Prefecture understands that it is impossible to lose. After all, the Lord of Heaven can point out the terrifying existence of immortality in a game of chess. But you can't bother such big shots with every little thing. Don't worry, our sect's holy son only wants a fight. If you lose, it doesn't matter. Xuanhuan spoke immediately. However, before he finished speaking, Chen Xuanbei had already said with a faint smile. If no one can defeat me, you will follow me and be my slaves from now on. In this world, please respect me as your master. Before arriving in this world, there was indeed no punishment for losing in a chess game with him. But that's because there is nothing worthy of his attention in those lower realms, so what's the use of having them? This world is different. It is very likely that there is an unbounded chessboard hidden here, and there is such a strong fairy spirit, it is destined to be the place of good fortune and enlightenment for you. How can I not take what God has given me? As soon as this statement came out, everyone in the venue was shocked. Your Excellency, you have such a strong tone. Holy Lord Yuanyang immediately shouted coldly. Lord of Heaven? Are you worthy of it? Crazy man, you want me to be your slave? You're talking nonsense. What do you think you are? Everyone in Xiantian province shouted angrily in unison. The other party is so condescending and bullying. Moreover, he actually wants to be the Lord of Heaven. These four words are tantamount to faith for all sentient beings in the heaven today. For the other party to dare to be so arrogant is an intolerable transgression and offense to all people in the heaven. Even Mu Jianing turned red with anger and said, hateful. Including Zhou Wenyuan, the great elder of Qixian sect, everyone was a little surprised and said, Holy Son, you. Chen Xuanbei said coldly, what, do you want to question my decision? Zhou Wenyuan was suddenly shocked and said, how dare you, old man? Don't worry, Holy Son, this world belongs to you alone. You must be the master of this world. He thought to himself, in the worst case, he would just kill everyone and treat this world as a gift to the Holy Son. You must not make the Holy Son unhappy, this is the reborn one. Chen Xuanbei looked at Huo Ling'er and Mu Jianing with a sneer and said, two beautiful girls, don't worry, follow me, I will make you happy until death. It is also an honor for you to follow me. Huo Ling'er's beautiful eyes darkened, the other party was simply too bullying. Such a bet would be unfair. Huo Ling'er said, if you win, you can have the heaven, but if you lose, you only have to pay for those treasures. Chen Xuanbei said proudly. What do you think is fair? It's up to you to set the terms. He was very disdainful. Anyway, it was a sure win. Huolinger stared at him and said word by word. If you lose, die. Die.